Hi, Piero here. I'm the owner and founder of Advanced Athletes Performance here in Melbourne, and I'm going to share a tightly held secret with you today. I want to share a superior yet little known method of how athletes can increase their speed, strength, and overall power output while improving their overall endurance and reducing recovery time. Non-athletes can also benefit by reducing blood pressure, while individuals with metabolic disorders such as diabetes can also keep their insulin levels under control. And it's the most powerful and effective way to get 30% extra out of your training or workouts. It simply means it will help you achieve your goals quicker. This is not only beneficial for athletic performance, but can also be used as an anti-aging biohack for all-round human performance as well. Before we begin, let me assure you, this is totally legal and does not involve taking any unknown substances that contravene any ASADA policy. But it does provide mind-blowing results. In fact, I wasn't always this go-to guy when it comes to human performance. I was actually far from it. You see, I used to be a javelin thrower, and as an athlete, I was lucky enough to have world-famous coach Frans Stampfel as my coach for over 16 years. Frans coached thousands of athletes in his time and was the national coach for a number of countries around the world. He was the coach behind Olympic gold medalists, world record holders, and was even the mastermind and coach behind Roger Bannister breaking the historic 4-minute mile. This was the Everest of human performance. You see, many medical experts at the time didn't believe that the human body was capable of running a 4-minute mile, and individuals would die if they attempted it. Frans had other ideas, and it was through this systematic scientific form of training that he developed, called interval training, that he trained Chris Chataway, Chris Braysher and Roger Bannister to propel human performance to never before seen levels in 1954. This was an equivalent moment in history to being the first person to scale Mount Everest, which happened a year earlier in 1953. He did a similar thing to stun the world at the 1968 Mexico Olympic Games when he coached Ralph Dubell to winning the gold medal in the 800 metres in a world record time. What many people fail to understand is that Mexico City is at an altitude of 2,240 metres above sea level. The person that Ralph Dubell beat that day was Wilson Kiprugut from Kenya, which, as we know, is also at altitude. The Kenyan was the overwhelming favourite to win the gold medal. In the 1970s, Frans was so impressed with the performance of the Kenyans, which was a country with very little resources, yet their athletes were performing well on the world stage. So he went to Kenya to get a better understanding of how they were doing this, and he gained a better understanding of the impact of altitude on human physiology and ultimately on the Kenyans' performances. As a young athlete, I saw Frans almost every day over a 16-year period. He had such a profound influence on me in many facets of my life. I didn't understand the importance of those lessons at the time, as I was only a teenager. But as time progressed, I understood the approach he would use to get the best out of people and make them perform far better than what they would ever have imagined themselves. You see, Frans was not only an extraordinary long and middle distance coach, he also had sprinters, jumpers, throwers, heptathletes, decathletes, even weightlifters in his stable of athletes competing at the highest level in the world. He even looked after the personal fitness of prime ministers and some of the most influential people in our country. Many of these individuals continued to work and lived well into their 90s with Frans' assistance and guidance. Frans was like a father and a mentor to me, as he was to hundreds of other athletes, and it was devastating to lose him. When Franz passed away in the autumn of 1995, I promised myself that in some way I would try and continue the Stamford legacy, no matter what. So far, and also including my time as an elite athlete with Franz, I have 35 years of high-level coaching experience and improving the performance of the human body. Couple this with another 65 years or so of elite-level experience from Franz, and you have access to well over 100 years of high-level coaching experience for us to help you reach your goals beyond your wildest expectations. Over the years, I ended up formulating a step-by-step blueprint that I've followed and thousands of others have followed that can create massive success in the field of elite sports, but also for the general population, and ultimately optimizing the performance of the human body. And today I'm going to reveal it to you, so keep watching. This is a formula designed with you in mind and tailored for athletes and individuals like you who want to get the very best out of your body. And let me be clear, this is not just for athletes, this is for people that want to experience higher level health improvements and the ability to develop your body's optimal levels and truly dominate the sporting field and or everyday life challenges. This is for people that want to build the body of their dreams, such as decreasing body fat and increasing muscle mass, and see their body transform in the mirror. This is also for athletes that want to increase power output, strength, speed, endurance levels, and ultimately dominate the sporting field. It's also for sporting teams that want to increase repeat speed ability and overall fitness levels through the increased red blood cell production, meaning you can carry more oxygen in the blood, which leads to enhanced stamina, higher hormone production, and improved recovery. I'm going to reveal the entire blueprint within this presentation, so keep watching. Yet, before I do, I must warn you about the real problem you face today. This is the invisible villain behind why you or your team haven't had the kind of success that you desperately crave for. And this is why your inconsistent performances are not your fault. Although, after you see this, you know it's your responsibility to take action. Because the real problem and sad fact is, from my experience, athletes aren't getting enough recovery, rejuvenation, and revitalization. The correct therapy, and this can be dangerous. That can lead to injury and slower recovery time. Sometimes I also see athletes using outdated training methods and philosophies. These are the villains that stagnate performance, and they can actually make you go backwards. If you don't, you'll continue to have poor performance or just not get the outcomes you are seeking in the gym. You may have heard or perhaps even believed at one point that you have to lift increasingly heavy weights with higher repetitions in order to get stronger and more powerful, or you need to spend more time running on the treadmill in the gym to improve endurance, or undertake more sessions with your personal trainer to achieve the results you desire. But you know something? That's not true at all. Every person has different genetics, which means people respond differently. If you are one of the millions that have fallen victim to this lie, then you need to decide now to accept the truth. Because if you don't, you'll continue to have poor performances or not get the gains you want from your time in the gym or with your personal trainer. And you may even quit and never reach your full potential. Listen, this is not what I want you, or it's not what you desire for yourself. And now you know the reason why your inconsistent and subpar performances are not entirely your fault. Blaming yourself needs to stop. Let's replace that blame with some action-based responsibilities. Sometimes we tend to blame ourselves, but I'm asking you not to do that. Instead, have a look at the real villain: social media, fitness magazines, influencers, sneaky marketing tactics, fake media, outdated philosophies, old school programs, even coaches and personal trainers that refuse to level up their skills. After all, you've been bombarded for almost as long as you've been alive with false, misleading claims from these crooks. And they all depend on this deception to make a quick buck. I care about you and your result. I care about your team winning the finals. I care about you running a personal best. I care about you reaching your personal body composition goals in the most efficient way, which is evidence-based and backed by science and our 100 years plus of experience. Put your trust in me and I will not let you down. That was a lot of information. You may be feeling a tad overwhelmed at this point, and that's perfectly okay. All this really means is that you have two simple choices to make right now. Number one, continue trying to achieve the results on your own without any professional assistance, and try to do it alone. You never know. You may put a complex puzzle of pieces together eventually on your own. It will take a lot longer, and there's no guarantee you'll get the results. Or you can take choice number two, the savvy choice, the choice most individuals take who are ready to achieve the highest potential you can be. Introducing the easiest and fastest, most efficient way humanly possible to experience ultimate power, speed, endurance, and physical results. Why risk failure and frustration trying to figure all of this out by yourself when I've done the hard work for you? Have the results, I have the ultimate programs, I have the keys to the kingdom. I've put in the decades of research and read all the relevant scientific studies and put together the formula for speed, power, and overall fitness success. My blueprint has a legion of raving fans because I've tested, perfected, and honed this system down to a work of art, and I guarantee it will work for you and your team. With over 35 years of industry experience, I'd like to introduce to you Advanced Altitude. Advanced Altitude is the breakthrough training technology that allows athletes to increase speed, power, endurance, and strength by up to 30% or more. It also helps you recover from training workouts faster and has an anti-aging effect. A number of athletes in a number of sports have used altitude training where they will travel to natural altitudes and live and train there. Now, in Australia, we don't have any suitable training venues for that. So we actually built our own hypoxic chamber where we can simulate altitude, and athletes, take the general population, can train over 5,000 meters above sea level. And we can get to simulate some of those adaptations that they would get if they were overseas. So we can use it in preparation for actually competing at altitude. So it's particularly relevant to cyclists, for example, who will go into mountainous regions. For most of our athletes, they actually compete at sea level. And so really what we are trying to do here is to get the extra physiological stimulus to get some better training adaptations, which we know will translate to better performances at sea level. For us to simulate altitude here, we're reducing the percentages of oxygen in the air, and we do that by using a series of filters. So where at sea level it's normally about 21%, we'll reduce the oxygen level systematically down towards 15%, which then means that as the athletes are training, their bodies are having to work an awful lot harder to maintain the same amount of work. The human body is actually having to generate different adaptations in order to be able to cope with this new environment. We can set our chamber from sea level up to around 5,200 meters, which is around 11% oxygen, which is about half the amount of oxygen that you would normally experience at sea level. So we can decide what altitude is required depending on what outcomes need to be performed. This radically simple yet effective altitude system will work for you, even if you think you have bad genetics, big bones, think you can't get any faster, think you can't get more powerful, or even you think you are too old and that you've tried everything and nothing worked. I coached 2-time Olympic sprinter and 7-time Australian 100-metre champion Joshua Ross for over 10 years. So that means I had over 10 years of data relating to Josh's training. I knew everything about his training. In the last year of Josh's career, we implemented a specific altitude program for a period of 6 months. He was able to increase his power and strength by 20% while reducing his body weight. He also started to run personal best times at training and produce performances that he was never able to produce previously. He was also able to recover faster from his training sessions, and at 39 years of age, he was in the best shape of his life. We simply could not believe how Josh's body reacted to our specialised altitude workouts. I also worked with NFL linebacker for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Myles Jack, who in less than 3 months completely altered his body composition in reducing his body fat composition and increasing his muscle mass by 10%. His speed, agility, power levels improved from all his pre-test results. His strength levels showed remarkable improvement from initially doing a 200 kilo deadlift to 320 kilos in 3 months. Myles was able to perform the well-known gases, which is an NFL fitness endurance test, without actually doing any long distance endurance type running at all. And he only relied on the specialised altitude training to achieve the best results of his remarkable career. One of our general population clients by the name of Lou, who recently had his second hip replacement at the age of 63, found himself in a position where he lost most of his muscle mass around his lower body due to the severe pain he was in for 6 or 7 months prior to his hip operation. It then took another 3 to 4 months of rehab. This is almost a whole year of trying to overcome a major issue that hindered his mobility. Lou was open-minded enough to undertake his rehab in our altitude chamber, which helped him recover and rehab 30% faster. He was also able to build back the muscle that he had lost to improve his mobility. After 3 months of rehab within our altitude room, Lou's physio and orthopedic surgeon had never seen any patients recover from such a major procedure and look so strong within a 3-month period. Simply, they were gobsmacked. 9 months after his hip replacement operation, Lou didn't only add muscle to his lower body, but he even competed and won a powerlifting contest. Lou is also a diabetic, and besides his most surprising competition win, we discovered that Lou's blood sugar levels fell to normal safe levels. His endocrinologist was over the moon about that as well. This is the power of altitude training. We have even worked with some of the most successful and fittest sporting teams in the country. Strength and conditioning staff were able to utilise the system in various ways to suit their needs. An obvious need was to improve players' overall fitness levels as well as their speed, but it also was valuable for players undergoing rehab programs, so they were able to keep their fitness levels higher during their rehab, as well as assisting physiologically with the rehab. The other benefit gained was team bonding element, which proved to be invaluable. I always say there are no shortcuts in this game, but if there was ever to be one, this would be it. In fact, I'm certain that if Lance Armstrong used our specialised training methods at altitude, he would have allowed his body to naturally produce higher EPO levels rather than having to take illegal substances, and thus save himself from a lifetime ban. Interested in learning more? Then click on the button below this video right now. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to helping you become my next human performance success story.